Today we're looking at an LPVO from Accufire Technologies. With a large variety of LPVOs available on the market, the question is what makes this one unique and what does it bring to the table that other optics might not bring, and why is it something that a lot of people are looking for in an LPVO? So as you guys know, there's a lot of LPVOs that I did review on this channel, and I'm still kind of looking for another step up into what might be a better option for what I'm looking for. So remember that regardless of what LPVO or what optic you're getting for your rifle, the first question you must always ask yourself is, what is my intended purpose of use? So someone who's going to have one style of rifle doesn't mean that that setup is going to be fit for you. You need to figure out what's the reason why you're setting up the rifle the way that you are, and then from those needs, we'll develop an actual decision-making process of which optic will be best for your preferences. So the main priority I had for this, and the reason why I felt some LPVOs are lacking, is an ability to have a very solid reticle at close range, as well as also having a valuable reticle when you start pushing the optic further out. So this one is the ATRO-8. It is an 8x magnification LPVO from Accufire Technologies. It does come included with a throw lever, which makes it a little bit easier to manipulate the gun. We're going to go through some of the specs really quick, but the first thing I'm going to talk about is the reticle that is included in this optic, which I think is very, very cool. So what this reticle is that when it is at 1x magnification, you have the kind of circle and dot reticle style that you might be used to with a lot of popular red dots that are available today. So having that kind of reticle is very familiar. It makes the reticle size a little bit larger, so it makes it, again, something easier to be able to pick up, and is very easy and effective to be able to use at close range when you're shooting this optic. Then what's really cool is that once you bump up the LPVO to its full magnification, you see that that circle obviously gets enlarged, but then there's a smaller miniaturized reticle that's within that circle that helps you also with bullet drop compensation and other measurements you might want to have when you start pushing it out at further distances. So what it does, again, at close range, it has a kind of a circle and dot looking reticle, and then once you bump it up, it has kind of like an entirely different reticle that could be used for longer range use. Now, going through some of the specs, again, this is a 1:8 LPVO. It does have a 30mm tube, an eye relief of 3.2 inches. Kind of a preference thing. I usually prefer MOA, but this one is an MRAD, just for being able to do measurements. The turrets on this are actually very, very nice. You're able to lift them up because they're in a locking position, and when you start twisting them, you really hear a very distinct and very clear sound of the reticle turning. So I'm going to be quiet for a second and put it next to the mic and see if you guys could hear this. It is very, very sharp. It's very clear to hear that you're actually turning it, and there's a very distinct stopping point between each individual click to make sure that you're actually getting it set to where you want. And then obviously once you're done, you're able to just push it back down and it locks in place. I know a lot of people prefer, when it comes to an LPV on a rifle, that it's kind of just screw-on caps to be able to open and close, because you're usually going to be zeroing it similar to a red dot where you kind of set it and forget it. But I do think there's kind of a nice option that it is locking, but also easier to adjust by simply lifting it up, twisting it, and then slapping it back down when you're done. This is 50 cal rated. It doesn't mean that you should put it on a 50 cal gun, but that's kind of a sign of its durability, where it is able to handle the recoil impulse of a 50 caliber rifle. So that might be something valuable for someone who might own like a Scar Heavy, something that has very aggressive recoils and is known to kind of damage optics. It is 50 cal rated, which shows again to its durability. It is a first focal plane optic, which again means that the reticle is going to change as you're able to open it and close it. So as you go further and closer, the reticle size is going to change, which again, in a lot of LPVOs might be annoying, because if it's a second focal plane, which means no matter where on the adjustment you are, the reticle is going to stay the same. The problem with that is that you usually have to zero it for a particular distance if you're really, really looking for precision. The other thing also is that, again, since this has like a changing reticle, it works fine because there's kind of one option for close and then one option for far. So your zero always stays the same, and it does give you a bit more options. This optic comes in at a weight of 1.2 pounds. So not extremely light, but definitely lighter in regards to other options that are available on the market for a 1:8 specific size option. And then in the back, again, like we mentioned, it does have the throw lever that makes it very easy to throw back and forth, depending on the magnification you want to be able to stick to. On the left side of the optic, there's actually an illumination setting. For me personally, I felt that unless it was on max brightness on the outside outdoor day that I was in, it was a little bit hard to be able to see. On max brightness, I was able to see it fine. I'd be curious to see how long the actual battery is going to hold up if I'm going to be using it on full brightness. Generally speaking, the only time I'm really using the brightness anyway is going to be during kind of like dusk to dawn kind of time frames. Otherwise, it does have an etched reticle on the inside, which means you don't need the illumination to actually be there to be able to see the reticle. It is very clear, it is very crisp, it is very easy to pick up, so it's really not that complicated to be able to do. Going back again, since this is a 30mm tube size, there is a huge variety of options of different mounting setups you could choose. In this particular case, I'm using a ScalarWorks 193 mount, which is definitely a premium level mount that's out there, but it gives you kind of a higher rise, which is a little bit more comfortable, definitely when you're using an LPVO to get a proper sight picture, as well as also it's kind of a quick on and off kind of system, which makes it kind of my preference, especially when reviewing optics. If you have a bunch of different optics to go through, it's much easier to mount and use this. I did actually make a dedicated video on it if you want to check that out. So this is definitely still my initial impressions video. I did get a few hundred rounds through this optic to be able to shoot it. We did go up to around 160 yards, which is not significant when it comes to a 1:8 LPVO, but that's just simply the range that I had available at the time. But it is very fun. It does have a great reticle inside. I do like the magnification. I would like to be able to see in the future how this holds up and how it performs. But overall, as an initial impressions, it's definitely a lot easier to be able to use because of the reticle style that it has in comparison to other reticles and other optics I've used in the past. So again, I'd be curious to see how this holds up in the future and how it performs after a long wear and tear on the optic. If you have any questions, any information you'd like to know about this optic, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. This is Raziel Cohen with ndftraining.com. Thank you for watching.